Good evening and welcome to ITV News. This is Monday night's calendar.
Yes, hello, good evening. Here are tonight's main stories.
As investigations are launched into maternity services at 2 West Yorkshire hospitals, one bereaved mother says they will barely scratch the surface.
A rapid review will not begin to uncover the issues that are present. There is no way a 3-month review will be able to give those families the accountability and justice that they deserve.
Devastation on a residential street. 5 people are injured as an explosion rips through this terraced house in Bradford.
I'm here at the scene of the blast, which, given the extent of it, it's remarkable that only 5 people were hurt, including 2 men who've since been arrested by police.
I don't take any shame in saying that I cried like a baby yesterday. What a great kid at heart. What a great heart he had outside and inside the ring.
Hitman with a heart, Sheffield boxing promoter Dennis Hobson shares his memories of the late Ricky Hatton.
And back in the driving seat just 12 weeks after sacking him, Sheffield United appoint Chris Wilder as boss for the 3rd time. But first to the investigation into 2 West Yorkshire hospitals after the government highlighted failures in the system of English maternity services.
Bradford and Leeds are 2 of 14 trusts being placed under the spotlight as part of what ministers called a rapid national review, with hundreds of families saying they've been harmed.
But one mother whose daughter was stillborn after failures from both trusts told ITV Calendar that the inquiry will barely scratch the surface and won't see anyone held accountable. Amelia Beckett has our top story.
Expecting her first child, Lauren was filled with excitement and hope. But at 37 weeks, her daughter Grace was stillborn, something which may never have happened had it not been for failures at both Leeds and Bradford's maternity units.
It's the single worst moment of my entire life, hearing that my child doesn't have a heartbeat, that this full-term, perfect baby is just gone. I never got to hear her cry. I never even got to see her eyes. To deal with that in itself was just the worst unimaginable pain.
Ever since, Lauren has campaigned for answers, not only for herself, but also the dozens of other families she says have been failed by both hospital trusts. Today, the government announced they would be 2 of 14 trusts examined as part of a rapid review into maternity services, chosen partly because of concerns already raised there.
In June, maternity services here were downgraded from good to inadequate by the Care Quality Commission, which found failings posed a significant risk to both women and babies. But families who believe they suffered preventable deaths say concerns were raised here for more than 5 years before that, and so they want that to be examined as part of this review.
The review will be carried out over 3 months, with a final report due in spring next year. But with more than 60 families treated in Leeds who believe they suffered preventable deaths in the last 5 years, Lauren thinks that the trust needs a separate inquiry to fully examine the extent of the issues there.
A rapid review will not begin to uncover the issues that are present. We have hundreds of women who've reached out to us, and there is no way a 3-month review will be able to give those families the accountability and justice that they deserve, or also make changes, make real lasting changes to make improvements there.
What does justice look like for you?
For me, justice is the people who are responsible for not just my baby, but all of these children and mothers' deaths to be held accountable.
Leeds Teaching Hospitals NHS Trust told us, "We recognise that we have not always delivered the highest quality of care to every family. We want to reassure families in Leeds that we have already taken significant steps to address improvements to our maternity and neonatal services since the publication of our recent CQC reports. However, we know there is still much more we can do." While Bradford Teaching Hospitals NHS Trust said it's committed to delivering the highest quality of care, and improvements made over the past 2 years have been recognised by the CQC. Both trusts say they fully support this national inquiry, which the government says will drive improvements in maternity care. But Lauren has little faith that after years of failings, a 3-month review will provide the answers she'd hoped for. Amelia Beckett, ITV News, Leeds.
Well, next tonight, to scenes of devastation in a residential street in Bradford, where a terraced house was ripped apart by a huge explosion.
5 people were hurt in the blast at Southfield Lane on Saturday night. Stunned residents looked on as teams of emergency crews searched the rubble.
It's thought it was triggered by thieves stealing metal pipes from the property, which was empty at the time. Well, Fraser Maud is live there for us now. Fraser.
Yeah, good evening. It's clear to see just how much the blast has devastated the house behind. Virtually destroyed. I'm standing in amongst all sorts of rubble. Luckily, it wasn't a back-to-back terrace house, although there would have been serious damage done to properties behind. There's everything on the floor here, from roofing tiles to windows to bits of cleaning up materials from the kitchen area. So clearly a huge blast. It happened just after 10 o'clock on Saturday night. Significant damage to the adjoining properties as well. The police, fire and ambulance were all here within minutes, and a police scene was put in place. It's amazing that nobody was killed in the explosion. A man, a woman and a boy from a nearby house were taken to hospital for treatment to only minor injuries, thankfully. A 27-year-old man, though, was located nearby with serious injuries. He was taken to hospital for treatment to those injuries, which are described as non-life-threatening. He was then arrested on suspicion of the theft of metal from the property just before the explosion. And then since then, a 28-year-old man has now also been arrested in connection with the same matter. We can have a chat now with local councillor Talat Sajwal. Tell us, first of all, I mean, people around here must have been terrified when this happened.
Yeah, absolutely shocked and terrified. I mean, 10 p.m. late on an evening, you know, people sat at home watching TV, but that's what people have said, that the windows and doors were rattling when the explosion happened, and they were really scared.
And we understand police have arrested 2 men on suspicion of metal theft. Is that something that's a problem around here?
We have had that before, yeah. Metal theft is sort of an ongoing problem in this area, and we've had it at a house not too far from here, where, you know, a family inside the house and metal was taken off the walls from the outside, you know, copper tubing, which is, you know, extremely dangerous and, you know, harmful for people living in the area.
Devastating indeed. Tajal, thanks very much for talking to us. Appreciate your time. Just to sum up, the 28-year-old man that was arrested remains in custody at this time. The 27-year-old man remains in hospital with serious injuries, although he is thought to be in a stable condition at the moment.
OK, Fraser Maud live in Bradford. Thank you.
Next, he was the most popular British fighter of all time. That's what Ricky Hatton's former promoter has told Calendar, along with his hope that Ricky's death will encourage conversations about mental health.
The legendary boxer was found dead at his home in Manchester yesterday morning at the age of just 46. Now, Sheffield promoter Dennis Hobson says we need to think about how to help sports stars deal with their demons when the cheering stops. Adam Fowler started his interview by asking Dennis his reaction to the news.
I don't take any shame in saying that I cried like a baby yesterday. I was heartbroken. It was like one of my family had passed, because we shared so many great memories. And I know it's cliche, but what a great kid at heart, what a great heart he had outside and inside the ring. Everybody felt part of it. It's not like just going watching the Premiership where you get a seat in the stand and you're watching Man U, but them players are like icons. Ricky was one of us, but it just so happened that he was an amazing fighter.
I want him just for a charity, just to sign a couple of beers for us.
Hatton partnered with Dennis Hobson from Sheffield in 2006, going on to win 2 World Championship titles across super lightweight and welterweight divisions. But Dennis says Ricky never lost the common touch.
He could be sat here with us, he'd want to know how your family is and like, is everything all right in your life? And apart from him being such a superstar, he wanted to know about you, so he made you feel special. I remember going to Vegas and we walked up into the offices and he was telling them what a great promoter I was. I'm supposed to be the promoter, promoting Ricky, and he was promoting me, the promoter. So he made you feel $1 million.
Ricky Hatton won 45 of his 48 pro fights and opened up about his battles with drink, drugs and depression after his retirement in 2012.
So then I thought to myself, I'll just drink myself to death, you know what I mean? So I just went on a drinking binge, just constantly, every day, all day, you know what I mean? And And then obviously, you know, when you know, to keep you drinking more, then obviously I started, you know, taking drugs. You know, the drugs would keep me awake so I could drink even more. And, you know, I just found myself in such a dark hole where nothing mattered what I was doing, who I was with. I just didn't care anymore, you know.
Just a genuine kid, and it's a shame that we didn't protect him enough. And I know when you close that door, you go to bed on your own, and it just brings it to the fore that we need to protect some of our superstars, because the adulation that he'd had, obviously, it's a big come down. It's a drug, and the come down is a big thing to address. How do you cope with that? We've got to have more of a coping mechanism to help kids like Ricky, and sadly, he's not here to help us anymore for future champions.
It's now Dennis Hobson's hope that Hatton's legacy will be a more understanding approach to mental health issues that extend far beyond the sporting arena.
If somebody's got an illness with cancer, they've got an illness. I don't think we look at mental illness as an illness enough, and it's a shame that Ricky's not here anymore to preach it, but hopefully with what's happened to Ricky, he's going to save some lives. We've got to use that legacy that he's created and left us to help the youth to become more settled and be able to cope with a very complex world that we live in.
Well, that was Dennis Hobson paying tribute to Ricky Hatton following yesterday's announcement of his death at just 46 years old. And as he spoke of the need for greater awareness around mental health, those touched by suicide continued their tour of the Baton of Hope, as today it reached Scunthorpe.
Yes, as part of its journey around 20 locations across the country, this morning the baton was carried around the town's famous steelworks before heading to Glanford Park, the home of Scunthorpe United. The baton's tour is aimed at breaking the taboo around mental health.
At British Steel, we've gone through some very hard times, etc., and the systems are in place, etc., to support all our employees. Everybody is associated with mental health, suicide awareness, the loss of a loved one, so it's imperative that we all stand side by side.
There's always hope, and we'll keep that hope in our hearts, and hopefully it'll help someone else, you know, even if it saves just one person.
And for advice on where to go for help and support, you can head to the Calendar website, where there's lots of useful information there.
Now you're watching Monday Night's Calendar, and still to come before 6:30. In sport, out with the new and in with the old. After just 3 months in charge, Sheffield United sack Ruben Sellers and bring back lifelong blade Chris Wilder.
And one step at a time, born with cerebral palsy, Stephen Collins was told he'd never walk. Now he's completing ultra marathons to help others.
Some more of the day's news now, and 3 people have appeared in court after a man was shot dead during an incident at a house in Hemsworth last week. 26-year-old Connor Batty died on Thursday evening. Detectives say he forced entry into the property with 2 other people. 3 people have appeared in court today, charged with firearms offences. They will all remain in custody until another court appearance next month. A murder investigation remains ongoing.
The head of South Yorkshire Police has written to all 11 and 12-year-olds across the county, warning them of the dangers of knife crime. The letters will be sent alongside a leaflet which advises parents and carers how to approach a conversation with their child about knife crime, and a comic book which tells a story based on real-life events in South Yorkshire. Now, for most people, learning to drive can be, well, a little nerve-wracking, but it can also be an exciting time. But for people with a disability, finding a driving instructor with the right qualifications can be a challenge.
Yes, in fact, across our region, there are only 16 driving instructors qualified to do that particular job.
It means disabled people are having to travel long distances for lessons after spending months on waiting lists. Amrit Birdie reports.
The independence that comes with passing your driving test is unparalleled for a lot of young people. And it was no different for Hope, who passed her test last year.
I can now basically drive myself anywhere I want, and it's nice to be able to go out with my friends and have a lot more independence.
But unlike most other people her age, Hope learnt to drive in a car adapted to accommodate her cerebral palsy.
My right side of my body doesn't work very well. I've got limited movement. So I drive with a left foot accelerator and hand controls.
It means her newfound independence has been even more hard won. It's the sense of reward that comes from teaching people like Hope that motivated disability driving instructor Paul. But he says the job is not for everyone.
You need a slightly larger vehicle, you need a series of adaptations, potentially, to help more people, and all this costs money, and by law you can't charge any more for that. It reduces your profit margin on what you're trying to achieve. So people will look at the industry and say, well, why should I invest in that? But the work is very, very, very rewarding. It's really enjoyable.
Paul is part of a minority of instructors. Across the whole of Yorkshire and the Humber, there are just 16 instructors disabled people can learn with. The lack of disability driving instructors has been an issue for some time, but post-pandemic, many instructors have been busier than ever and simply aren't motivated to specialise.
A lot of driving instructors are completely fully booked, so why would they need to spend an extra £1,000 to teach disabled people when they don't need to do that to keep their driving school afloat? It's very frustrating for the individual person, whether it's somebody with a physical disability, whether it's somebody with a learning difficulty, or even somebody with a hearing difficulty. It's very difficult to find the specialist instructor.
John runs remote training courses to make it as easy as possible for disability driving instructors to get qualified. But he says until more instructors decide to take the leap into teaching disabled people, it's individuals like Hope whose independence will be stalled. Amrit Birdie, ITV News.
Yes, and if you've got your driving test coming up, well, good luck to you. Now, let's have some sport, and Chris is with us. And, well, quite an incredible announcement this afternoon, Chris.
You say incredible, yes, Ian, but you know what? We saw this one coming. As soon as Sheffield United sacked their manager Ruben Sellers yesterday, well, it opened the door for a return of a very familiar face.
Powering local sport in the community. Octopus Energy sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
Yes, less than 3 months after he was sacked by Sheffield United, Chris Wilder, there he is back for a third spell as manager, signing a 2-year contract. In a statement, the Blades owners say they've brought Wilder back to stabilise performances and strengthen their push for promotion. Well, their experiment with Ruben Sellers backfired spectacularly, with the Blades losing all 6 of their matches after the Spaniard took charge. The latest was a 5-0 thrashing at Ipswich on Friday night, which brought about the end of the shortest ever permanent managerial reign in Sheffield United's history. Well, today I've been chatting to one of the hosts of the Sheffield United Way podcast, Ollie Mann, who believes there's no better person to get the Blades firing once again than Wilder.
Over the summer, I wasn't fully against the idea of modernising the club to an extent in terms of moving forward with a different manager. I could understand why we might want to make that change as we move into a new ownership, a new regime, and what we were hearing at the time was quite exciting transfer strategies and ways of moving forward. But it all went wrong. And I think you need a steady hand on the tiller. You need somebody who's going to rebuild the club. And with his connection with the fans, his connection with the players, Chris Wilder's the perfect man to come back into Bramall Lane. 3rd time's the charm. You know, the first time got cut short for lockdown. The second time ultimately got cut short because we tried something different. This time, let's let the story have a proper end. We've had the beginning, we've had the middle. It's time for a glorious end, and Chris Wilder can hopefully reclaim some of those heights that we've seen in the past.
And we'll be hearing from Chris Wilder again at a press conference tomorrow. Well, all told, it wasn't a happy return from the international break for our teams in the top 2 divisions. Leeds beaten by a stoppage time own goal at Fulham. Sheffield Wednesday losing 3-0 at home to Bristol City. But a better weekend if you were a Bradford City fan. Not much so for Huddersfield Town, though, who the Bantams beat 3-1. 2 of those goals scored by local lad Bobby Poynton. That's now 5 for the season for him. Our only other winners were Barnsley. Davis Keeler-Dunn also scoring his 5th of the season in a 3-2 win over Reading. And Sheffield United women earned their first WSL 2-point of the season thanks to this beauty from Charlie Devlin.
So that's the football wrapped up. What about rugby league?
Yeah, Lisa, just one round of the regular season to go and still one issue to be resolved. Wakefield have their destiny in their own hands. Saturday's wonderful victory over league leaders Hull KR means Trinity occupy the 6th and final playoff spot, which they'll hold on to should they win at bottom club Salford on Friday night. Elsewhere, Leroy Cudjoe bade farewell to the Huddersfield crowd in his final home match after over 400 games by kicking the final points in a 22-8 win over Salford yesterday. And the York Knights have won the Championship League Leaders' Shield, whilst today it was confirmed that they've applied for a place in next year's Super League along with fellow second-tier sides Bradford and Doncaster. And in other sport this weekend, the Sheffield Steelers returned to Elite League action with a win over Guildford on Saturday at the Arena. Sadly, they were beaten in overtime at Cardiff yesterday. There was a silver medal for Sheffield's Tegan Stott at the World Boxing Championships in Liverpool, and 2-time Olympic mountain bike champion Tom Pidcock, here on the right, finished 3rd in the Vuelta a España, his best ever Grand Tour finish. He's going to win one day. I can guarantee it. He'll win one.
All right, we'll hold you to that.
You will. You can record this and then play it back to me when he doesn't.
All right, Chris, thank you.
I don't want to watch it again. No. Now then, the Daily Mirror Pride of Britain Awards is one of the biggest events in the showbiz calendar, but it's so-called ordinary people, not the celebrities, who are the stars of the show.
Yes, and each year one fantastic fundraiser gets to represent Calendar and attend the awards in London. This week we'll be showing you 4 fundraising finalists, with the winner to be announced on Friday.
Well, our first nominee is Stephen Collins from Huddersfield, who has overcome his own personal battles to raise thousands for charity.
Defying expectations, one step at a time. 66-year-old Stephen Collins from Huddersfield. Born with cerebral palsy, doctors said he would never walk. But against all odds, his strong will and determination to overcome his physical limitations has seen him raise £20,000 for various charities.
I'm very, very proud that I can push myself. I was told I'd never be able to walk, and now I can say this body that everybody put down is this.
You're helping to raise money for others. Is that it must be very emotional?
Yeah, it makes me feel good that I'm helping other people.
Over the past 3 decades, Stephen's completed many grueling challenges, from bike rides to 24-hour walks, hikes, and his toughest event to date, a 35-mile ultra-marathon. Despite the exhaustion, immense tiredness and extreme pain, his focus is always on the finish line and raising those vital funds for others.
Yeah, I've done it. Yeah. That's another one I've done. On to the next one. What we're doing next. And so many people have said, I couldn't do that. I'm disabled. I've done it. It makes my heart burst with pride.
It was hard going though, wasn't it?
Very hard going.
Supporting him all the way is his wife Sally, who is one of many inspired by Stephen's physical achievements and positive attitude.
Oh, so proud. unbelievably proud. It's the effort he puts into everything, the pain he suffers for afterwards, the training every day. And he'll come home and he'll be absolutely exhausted. His legs will hurt, his arms will hurt, his shoulders will hurt, his neck will hurt, everything will hurt. And he'll get up and do it again the next day. He's so inspirational to other people. And in my eyes, he's the pride of Britain.
Wow, inspirational really is the word.
Absolutely. It's
and we've got lots of inspirational people to see this week. All week, we'll have another fantastic fundraiser on tomorrow's programme.
Yes, make sure you watch us every night. Now then, let's get the weather forecast. Here's James Wright.
A clear start makes way for a day of ancient discoveries. TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Hi there, good evening. A rather breezy day today, blustery start to the week. These strong winds wrapped around that low that's heading out into the North Sea. Few showers in the mix, although most of them actually fell to the west of the Pennines. As we run the sequence, we do get a little bit of a break, but then, like I say, it's a short one. You can see all that wet and windy weather returning as we head through the middle part of the week, and then this has got a really big tail on it, and it's going to wave up and down. Now, if it waves up in our direction, we're going to get quite wet, and it could be a bit of a soaker. If it stays to the south of us, we might actually see some nice, dry, bright weather. Back to this evening, more showers still to push through. Some of them a bit on the sharp side, still quite breezy, so none of them lasting too long. The cloud and indeed the showers continuing to support temperatures, so a mild night. Across the board, looking at lows of around 12 or 13. As far as tomorrow goes, then still breezy. Still hold on to this little finger of showery rain that's sort of skirting its way down between the gap between Northern Ireland and Scotland. So more showers to come. But where we don't see the showers holding on, might see some nice bright weather and some long spells of some reasonable weather, even though it is a bit breezy. Temperature-wise, looking at 15 to 18 Celsius. So starting to see temperatures at or slightly below average for the time of year. More rain to come through the early part of Wednesday, clearing to something hopefully a little bit brighter. 22 Celsius, starting to see temperatures rise just a little bit. Thursday is where the question marks begin, because where is this front going to go? Nobody knows quite just yet.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Thank you very much, James. That's all from us for now.
Yes, that's right. But I'll be back with our late news at 10:30, and we'll all be back tomorrow night at 6. Good night.
Bye-bye.